Riot Games are seriously putting the S into games. Not only Arcane, we have more games coming out. They basically are, they're doing a perfectly orchestrated, from a PR perspective, rise to being, I think, a lot more to a lot more people and attracting new crowds to their IP.
Yeah.
Maybe they've realized that the people who play a MOBA aren't all, there's a lot of other people who'd like to play their MMO who don't really feel like they have any into the world. They don't know any of the champions. They're not the sorts of people who are going to play a MOBA. But of course, they probably want to rule the world, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I think they're doing such a good job that when you just said Rise, I immediately heard the song from the Ruined King launch trailer start to play in my head. So that's we'll get into how exactly they're attempting basically media domination, because if you haven't been paying attention, it's almost an unofficial Riot Games month this November, and they're just basically nailing it.
Yeah, multipliers.
Yep.
That's what it is. Everything is just a multiplicative. So, The first thing, of course, is Arcane. Holy shit. I could not believe how good Arcane was and is. Arcane is seriously incredible. I think for animated content that hits the more adult audience, it could be what Avatar was to really, Avatar's segment. For a lot of people, like, Avatar is like the gold standard, and it's basically not really been hit since.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it is setting a new standard. There is, a lot of this animated content these days, even for adults or, sort of later teens. The characters are still Joss Whedon quit machines.
Yeah.
They still feel like that. Not Arcane. Arcane is more serious. Arcane does not feel like it's being held back. It doesn't feel like it's doing animation as a medium. Arcane doesn't feel like it's animation as a genre. It's just the medium in which this story is being told, and it's absolutely being used such that it being animated massively elevates what it is. So basically, Arcane is a fantastic show. It is exquisitely paced. It is so economical in its script. That's something I love. Like, there's not a wasted beat. And it's so expensive. I could not believe. And, I suppose a bit of context, of course, with the game studio here. I know a lot of animators. A lot of people who are in and around that industry, and they are pretty much all a little bit jaw-dropped at how they've been able to do this. Of course, when you have multiple years, Riot money, and a studio like Fortiche, that's what happens. But of course, it's not just that they did a good show. Right now, audience score 98. Rotten Tomatoes score 100%. IMDb 9.4 out of 10. I went into the second part of that thinking, right, could this be as good as the first? Yeah, the middle act was also brilliant. How have they done this? So, Arcane is outperforming some of Netflix's biggest hitters. Act 2's release made it hit the top TV show spot in 52 countries, trading blows with Squid Game, which I think is something that, I think being live action, being what it is, it's probably going to go out to a larger overall audience because, of course, this is, it is fantasy, it is rooted in video games, so a lot of the, I was to use the word, normies might see it and be like, oh, what's that? I don't want that. Squid Game.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, right?
That's the thing that's interesting about it being the 52 countries. There's a lot of Latin America and a lot of Asia. It immediately eclipsed the top spot, just destroyed it. I think it's the only places that it didn't hit the top spot sort of region-wise would have been around Western Europe and the UK, and then North America. I can't remember if Canada hit it, and then I think Japan was also Squid Game at the time in terms of the top show being watched. But almost everywhere else in the world, it's Arcane. In terms of overall popularity, it's when I say trading blows with Squid Game, I mean Arcane's on top, Squid Game's on top, Arcane's on top.
Yeah.
And it's just trading back and forward, which is it's really hard to overstate how insane that is for an animated TV show like that. But it hits so many things that tonally it feels like a good modern TV show as opposed to anything else.
That's key. Doesn't feel like animation as a genre.
Yeah.
And when I say animation as a genre, it's the sort of thing where it's as if because something is an animated piece of content, there are certain, tropes and things that it's going to do, almost regardless of the genre of the animated TV show.
Yeah.
A sort of a normalization effect. I have found a lot of animated content, and this does not fall into that. And I think you know why. It's, in a way, more independent, right? It's got the latitude to just go do its thing. So, yeah, look, it's just so damn good. Fortiche have absolutely nailed it. This, on a cultural level, this is doing what the Popstars video did.
Yeah.
Just to a larger scale. The Popstar video pretty much meant that the whole K-pop fandom knew Riot Games. Many of them probably did already, but really knew. And for the people who really know K-pop, there are like lots of little nods, like the laundry, scene in Popstar. They're like, oh yeah, they know our thing. They know the tropes of our thing. So this is just expanding the Riot brand humongously and setting up the universe in which their MMORPG is going to take place. Because I now know far more about this, and I'm far more interested in this, such that whenever I find out there's an MMO coming, I mean, the gameplay, I'm sure it'll be great or whatever, but I'm actually not thinking about that first. I'm thinking about the world. And I think that is exactly what Riot want to do here. I suppose there's a chance this could be, best piece of video games? Not video game content? I mean, video game movies don't have the most great track record, do they? Similar for video game TV shows.
Yeah, I think trying to cut any sort of biases out from like different bits of animated content, I think that's probably true. If we think like, I don't want to say objectively, but in terms of how well it's written, how well it's paced, how well it's animated, obviously a lot of that comes down to how expensive it was. But also in terms of just being good, yeah. Like, I would have no qualms of showing this to any of my family members or friends who don't play games. I'm like, yeah, this, and I know they would like it.
Yeah.
Might be a bit weirded out by some of the elements, or not some of like the tropes and ideas might be a little bit off to them, but they'll just be like, yeah, this is really good dramatic television.
Yep, the fundamental character stuff all just works. And it's interesting. They say that it was made for League fans first. I mean, you're going to love this if you're a League fan.
Yeah.
And I'm not a League fan. I mean, I've enjoyed League. It's like, I know Caitlyn was the first character I played. So it was like neat to see those things. Person I watched it with, though, never played League. Like, knew Jinx from the big video that went out with Jinx in it, but didn't know League at all.
Yeah.
Now completely in.
Yeah, whereas on my side of the fence, I played League of Legends for years, decent fan of its universe for a good long time, and the person I watched it with, me and him were just talking about like, that's, what way is this character's lore going to be adapted for this? Stuff with like Jason Act 1, are like, oh yeah, I can see what they're doing here. Oh, that's Victor. Oh, okay, this makes sense now. Because we were even talking about who different characters could be in terms of we didn't have a name yet, what are they going to be doing? And it's just like, it ties in really well, and the fact that it hits both sides of the fence so cleanly is like, it's just impressive.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, it's not just the TV show, though, because they've also done a collaboration with Fortnite, because, of course, that is the big thing. Elsewhere, they have a partnership with Among Us that brings crewmate costumes based on Jinx, Vi, and Heimerdinger, and also a Piltover Enforcer and a few other League cosmetics. So, there you go. Also a collaboration with PUBG Mobile, which, of course, is a very, very, very big game in some territories. So a lot of that going on, the little, the pop-up hair situation they did, just all of this stuff for general, broad cultural dominance, which they are nailing.
Yeah, and they are not holding any money back, because the idea that they opened a specialist hair salon, and you basically, to get your hair done, you don't pay any money, you watch Arcane. That's how much they are putting into this. Like, if you think about it from that perspective, it's, we will pay you in services to watch our TV show, please. Thank you.
It's a good little thing to have just spreading around social media that's how it operates.
Yep.
Now, moving on, though, it's like, what have they, they've got all of this. They have this lightning in a bottle, I think. Yep. What do they do with it? Well, fucking video games is what they do with it.
Yeah, they just go and release 2 games.
Yeah. So, we've got Hextech Mayhem, a rhythm runner that released November 16th on Switch, PC, and Netflix's own in-app gaming service. Now, it's made by Choice Provisions, who make the Bit Trip series. It's got Ziggs and Heimerdinger as its main characters. Of course, Heimerdinger is in Arcane, so that's a little bit more, recognition. And they also technically announced it in a very funny way on Twitter. But that's not all. That is not all. So, Ruined King? Well, of course, that's all a part of Riot Forge, which is Riot's third-party publishing wing for games that are within, I guess, the Runeterra universe. And, they tweeted for the first time since December 2020, promising an update on it. And the soon TM was rather funny, especially because Ruined King was actually included in the NVIDIA GeForce Now list for that leaks. It pointed to a November 16th release date, and that's bloody well what happened.
Yep.
Further telling us that this GeForce leak was pretty damn accurate because multiple things have been in line with it now.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is all true because Ruined King launched the same time.
Yep.
Bam! Another surprise launch. Now, this was announced in 2019 and originally supposed to release towards the start of this year, but it was pushed back because of a number of challenges. They never updated the release date, so they chose to release it along with this. Interesting game, it's the Battle Chasers Night War developer who, apparently that's a really solid game, and now 87%, 4,500 user reviews. Now, the whole thing with Riot Forge is it's completable games. Telling stories. So this is not something I think they're really doing to make boatloads of cash versus what they already do. Yeah. This is something they're doing to build out their brand, build out the IP. So you've got a 71% for Hextech Mayhem, an 83% positive for Ruined King. I mean, as of this screenshot, it's 87, so generally doing well. Ruined King seems to do the ruination and just the whole thing justice in a way that League itself couldn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, different games.
Yeah, that was one thing that people kind of caught on to, which was the ruination storyline in League of Legends ended up being around the time, I think, or after Ruined King was supposed to release. So it felt a little bit empty, a little bit dry, and people didn't like where it went. Then this, from what I've seen from reviews of Ruined King, people have went, oh, this is the story they wanted to tell. This is great. This is actually really, really good stuff, borrowing on things we know from League of Legends.
Yeah, now there have been issues. Ruined King had a soft lock in the tutorial that was affecting some people. That should have been fixed, but, there you go. Hextech Mayhem has no key rebinding, which is odd. Reviews are also saying it doesn't have lag calibration, so if there's any delay in your audio chain, then too bad. I imagine there'll be some people playing this on Bluetooth headphones with some latency, getting very confused. That's especially important because while there are visual prompts for many of the things, to get the highest score in the levels, you're really listening to the music.
Also, it's a rhythm game.
Yes.
It's a rhythm game.
And then also, not everyone's going to like a bit trip like rhythm game.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I kind of wanted to highlight the negative stuff to kind of go, well, obviously they haven't completely nailed every single part of this play so far. But generally speaking, the play has been yep, people are largely happy with what's come out. They've hit them with a surprise. And then, obviously, that's not it. Obviously, the Ruined King available now was announced at the end of a showcase, which we have details on here.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. Convergence, a League of Legends story, a 2D action platformer focused on Echo. It's by Double Stallion, who are mostly known for Speed Brawl. They're doing what they do best. Sharp 2D visuals, action combat, looks quite fun. It's got ambitious use of time rewind mechanics that also looks cool. The developers are promising it's going to be used interestingly, not just an undo button. So, cool. More friggin' video games. And then there's Song of Nunu, which is a single-player 3D adventure game by Tequila Works, who did the Sexy Brutale and Rhyme.
Yep.
Just two more games.
Just there you go, 2 more games.
Yeah. They're going to need a lot more S's.
Yeah.
So, you look at Steam.
Yeah.
What do you see? 4 Riot Games.
Yeah, that's the thing that really got me about this. You go to Steam and you type in League of Legends, you see 4 games. 2 you can get now. All 4 of them are very different genres, telling different stories in different parts of the world. This feels like just a shotgun blast to video games, basically.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's going to be more.
Yeah.
There's going to be more, and Arcane is not the only show they've worked on.
Yeah.
From what they've heavily teased. So can you imagine what it's going to be like by the time this MMO comes out? It could be coming out benefiting from 10 video games, multiple TV shows building its world out. That's going to mean if somebody's like, okay, cool, so I can start a character and, I do my thing in Elben Forest, and then I go to Piltover, and I'm in Piltover, that place from that TV show that I really liked. That is something that, WoW hasn't been able to do.
Yep.
That's incredible. But, of course, there might even be more. Because there's Project L, which is the League of Legends fighting game. We It's interesting. In October, we were told an update would come in late November. Last we saw it wasn't from Riot Forge, even though it follows the same formula. Small, established genre developer making something in the League IP. By the way, that's because they purchased Radiant Entertainment. So, look, end of November. Oh, or late November. Would that be in and around when Arcane is finished? Maybe?
Possibly.
Because Arcane Act 1 and then Arcane Act 2. What do we find out just after Arcane Act 2? The 4 video games. Mm-hmm. What happens after 3? Also, Project F is missing.
Entirely missing, yeah.
Yes, they showed off a few seconds of what looked like a multiplayer dungeon crawler in 2019. They said it was about exploring Runeterra with your friends, but there's no more details. Maybe there'll be more. Then, of course, the MMO. The 5th major game Riot is developed internally, 6 if you count Project L. Now, there's so little info on this. We know it's being led by Greg Street, World of Warcraft developer. There's basically zero info. Here's a quote. Anyone who knows me from World of Warcraft dev days would know that I love dungeons and raids as a player. Riot have specifically warned that, quote, not everyone is going to love the MMO. So, what design decisions are they going to make? Are they perhaps deciding to really make it something to certain people rather than, not much to everyone? Who knows? Certainly, when I think about this in the context of everything else, I think what people really want is a rich world to explore. Yeah. But of course, it is Riot. So I think the gameplay really is going to be the focus for them. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because them saying not everyone's going to love it, that's the same vibe I get from all of these other games, where they aren't going for the quadruple A strategy. They're not going, we're going to make an MMO that everyone in the world is going to play. They're like, yeah, we're going to release 10, 15, 20 games. We're going to have a League of Legends game in every genre. Yeah. If there is not a League of Legends game that someone in this world likes, then we've done it wrong. If there's not one for everyone, we've fucked up. They'll do the same with TV shows. They'll do the same with music videos because obviously they had a focus on the poppy elements with the Western poppy elements with Imagine Dragons kind of stuff. Then there's also the K-pop elements with the KDA, all that thing. But they're also bringing Pentakill back, which was their metal stuff from earlier in League of Legends career. Yeah. So they're bringing that stuff back. So they're kind of going, we have enough money and enough staff and enough creative willpower. We can just be in every genre at once under this one umbrella. And it seems like they've taken a long time to get there, but they have seemed to have got the formula down.
Yeah, this is such a well-orchestrated brand expansion.
Yeah.
If you now look at things, 7 released games, 2 coming out 2022, 3 are TBA, special mention. There's also Valorant.
Yep.
Not in the League IP.
Yeah, which is, you go, well, okay, one game not in the League IP, okay, that's fine. But then that means every other game is in the League IP, which means that's where their focus is going forward. And so far, it seems to be working like.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does also appear to be working in a way that is well aligned with consumer value.
Yep. Which is,
if you look at League of Legends, there's a few annoying monetization things.
Of course.
Absolutely. But once you get your champions, you can just play and play and play and play. Yeah. You look at all of these other games, you buy them, you're done. And I think when people look at a lot of modern gaming, they're like, okay, well, how are Ubisoft going to put time skips and all of these things into a single player RPG? I think now you look at this with Riot and it doesn't seem like that's the sort of thing they're going to be doing. Yeah. Now, the only concern I would have is when the Runeterra MMO comes out, how will that be monetized? Because if they're going to go down the route of so many games that put the monetization onto the customization elements, then that really will degrade the MMO elements. So I'd be very interested to see how they choose to monetize an MMORPG.
Yeah.
But, other than that, it's a pretty damn good time for players.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? If you think about how their monetization funnel works, because they have so much everywhere else, obviously they've had League of Legends funding it for a long time, and obviously having access to Tencent's coffers is going to help them substantially, which is probably why a lot of people will be kind of annoyed at Riot because of the connotations of a couple of different things that they don't like about them. You could be anyone in the world and have something to dislike about them based on either how they've handled staffing issues, how they're 100% owned by Tencent, or how basically anything they've done. You can always find something to scrutinize, but it's just the way they're approaching this is so broad that I feel like they'll be in this growth period for another like 5 or 6 years, if not another decade. So by the time they actually turn the monetization screws, I think it'll be almost too late, and they'll have control of the entire they'll have control of the entire media world by the time they go, should we start making money now?
They also own Hytale.
Oh yeah, so they do.
They have a Minecraft competitor in their portfolio.
I forgot. That's the same thing.
By the way,
yeah, the same thing happened with Convergence. There's so much going on in Riot that unless you hyper pay attention, you forget. Because I forgot Hytale. No one in any of this coverage of Riot Games modern stuff has talked about Hytale, and that's just insane.
Yeah, they just happen to own a company that is humongous in the Minecraft community, making what you could say is a Minecraft competitor.
Yeah.
So I mean, bloody hell, that's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yep.
So there you go. The S is thoroughly in Riot Games, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, till then, that's it from us. Right now, we're Bellular Studios. In our game development, we have, one studio, so perhaps someday we'll put the S in that, won't we? All right, you can wishlist our game down below, by the way. And with that very smooth outro done, the outro's done. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.